The year is 1780 something. You work as a wig maker in the nation's capital of Philadelphia. Spirits are high and happy in your great city, except for one, yours. You are awoken by some loud noise coming from next door. You look outside your window to see your neighbor Benjamin Franklin throwing an absolute banger of a party with a solid ratio and enough booze to forget about the revolution. You're furious by the noise, and frankly a little hurt he didn't invite you. You can't take the noise anymore as you finally snap. You march them sweet cheeks down to Ben's crib, knock down the door, and smash his gramophone to the ground, silencing the room. You killed the vibes and embarrassed Ben in front of the ladies. He walks over to you and says, "Not cool, bro. You've got some serious anger issues, dog. As we all know in this year 1780 something, madness is a sign of mental illness. I'm getting you help from a doctor." Lucky for you, treating mental illness was not a new phenomenon. The founder of modern medicine, Hippocrates, popularized treatments for mental illnesses and abnormal behaviors back in 400 BC. You knew that mental health treatments have come a long way since when they used to cut out pieces of your skull using bores, saws, and whatever the hell this thing is. This is what you tell yourself anyways as your doctor arrives at your house. As he sits you down, you see him pull out a partially clean knife from his bag. You remind yourself, it's the year 1780 something. Doctors definitely know what they're doing. Well, I'll give you a hint of what happens next. He doesn't know what he's doing. With the knife in one hand and your arm in the other, the doctor randomly slices a juicy artery. And, Finn, you are now dead. This method of bloodletting was used to treat patients with anger issues as well as mood disorders such as depression. Looking ahead about 240 years later, and you can see how our knowledge on mental health treatments has grown exponentially. After we got past physically killing people by draining their blood, we moved on to isolating people in dirty and inhumane asylums. It was a step in the right direction, but it is also the reason I'm in my 20s and still sleep with a nightlight. Somewhere between patients being live-laugh lobotomized and literally being placed into comas, psychotherapy and later cognitive behavioral therapy hit the treatment scene. Currently, our knowledge of mental health is still growing as we look into new pharmaceutical and behavioral treatments, as well as the neural mechanisms that underlie them. This is you, and I'm going to be real, you look really good today. The brain, and especially our heavily folded mess, is a massive web of circuits. There are large circuits that run throughout your entire brain, and mini circuits within individual brain areas. Trying to make sense of this jumbled web of cells has been like trying to navigate a maze blindfolded. Modern neuroscience is still in its infancy stage, with many theories still being pitched and disproven. One popular theory in the media over the past couple of years is the serotonin theory of depression. This theory proposes that depression is the result of abnormalities of the neuromodulator serotonin. This theory took off with the rise of antidepressant use being taught about in the media and even textbooks. Because the popular antidepressant SSRIs increase serotonin availability in the brain and are moderately effective at treating depression, they led to the common belief that those with depression have a lack of serotonin. In fact, over 80% of the general public believes that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance. What if I told you that this wasn't true? That your brain, sitting in its chemical soup, has all the right ingredients? In 2022, researchers out of the University College London conducted a massive umbrella review of research evaluating the relationship between the chemical serotonin and depression. Hundreds of scientific papers were reviewed. It found no convincing evidence that depression is associated with or caused by lower serotonin concentrations or activity. Many aspects of serotonin were considered, such as its concentration, the amount of serotonin 5-HT1A receptors, the level of serotonin transporter proteins, and even genes were evaluated. All of this pointed to there being no reduction in serotonin in people with depression. Now you may be wondering, then how the hell can SSRIs be effective? If there is no chemical imbalance, why on earth would increasing serotonin availability work? Well, if you've ever talked to someone who has taken SSRIs, they can tell you, SSRIs aren't effective right away. While they may immediately increase serotonin levels, improvements aren't seen until weeks after beginning treatment. This implies that there may be functional changes between our neurons. Our brains are highly malleable. The wiring in our brains has the ability to add or remove connections. SSRI antidepressants actually change the functional connectivity in brain areas such as the temporal lobe and default mode network. So it's not so much a chemical imbalance that's being fixed, as it is brain wiring being altered. If you've made it this far in the video, you're probably asking yourself, who even is this guy and why is he telling me this? Why should I even care? I say all of this because simply, existing is fucking hard. From the day you come screaming out of the womb, life is scary and overwhelming. You are born with some dude in latex gloves smacking your bottom, and life keeps kicking your ass after that. Currently, anxiety and depression rates are at an all-time high and are rising. Whether you think you're immune or not, there may be stretches in your life where even good days feel like bad days, where the sun doesn't shine the same and the proverbial bees have no knees. You may want to be with friends, but you may want to be alone even more. After all that, you may look at yourself in the mirror, defeated, and think, what's wrong with me? I know this because I've been there, questioning why my brain had to be broken. Many people have come to think of themselves as a chemical abnormality. This pessimistic outlook creates a glass ceiling between you and happiness. However, this ceiling is an illusion. You are not a chemical imbalance. Instead, there are connections in your brain that just need to be strengthened. This can be done through medications, but it can also be done through cognitions and behaviors. A great example of this would be how meditation alters connectivity in the aforementioned default mode network. Meditating around just 10 minutes a day can improve connections associated with mood and attention. As for meditation and other behavioral practices, change is slow, but it is possible. You have the ability to strengthen connections in your brain, because you are not a chemical imbalance. All of this is to say, life is just as awesome as it is short. To quote the great philosopher Diddy Kiss, the sun don't shine forever, but as long as it's here, then we might as well shine together. Might as well take the time to enjoy your time. There's too many wonderfully ridiculous things and people out there not to enjoy it. If you use medication and it works for you, great. If not, that's fine too. But do keep in mind, change is possible. You can be happy. Change is possible.